Welcome to Spread Love in Organizations, a podcast for purpose-driven healthcare leaders striving to make life better around the world by leading their teams with genuine care, servant leadership, and love. I'm Naji, your host, and I'm thrilled to be with Jill Donahue, who is on a mission to lift pharma. As a global thought leader in pharma, she won multiple awards for her work, author of 2 books, delivering talks at global conferences, publishing in industry journals, and serving pharma teams. Jill also co-founded the Aurora Project, a global volunteer group of thought leaders trying to eliminate commercial pharma's path to patient centricity. I had the immense pleasure to work with Jill, learn from her, see her impact coaching and helping executives build purpose-powered, engaged, and engaging healthcare teams. I am so thrilled to have you with me today.
I'm so happy to be here, Naji. I always love chatting with you.
Jill, tell us your personal story, your leadership journey to now being really on this mission to lift pharma. I'd love to learn more about you.
Oh, thanks. Sure. Well, I guess my story starts back when I joined our industry, carrying the bag, as many of us did. I came in, though, with a background in psychology. And when I got in the industry, I noticed, man, we were really good at the life sciences. If we were doing push-ups, that arm was super, super strong. But the other arm, the behavioral sciences, how do we communicate it such that we engage the person in front of us? I found that arm, that muscle was a little weaker. So I was fascinated with this and started studying it and presenting my research nationally and internationally, getting pretty excited about it. And then did my master's in adult education with a focus on influencing healthcare behavior change. And then when I was 35, something happened that really changed my path. And that was watching my father die as a result of a prescribing error. So being in industry, I couldn't help but picture, the closed door. What if my dad's doctors, MSL, CAM rep, whatever you call him or her, what if that person had have been able to access my dad's doctor and help them know the right product for the right patient at the right time? So I kept studying this. I wrote a couple of books on it, and I was so excited about what I was learning about how we could better engage and impact better healthcare outcomes. I was so fascinated and excited about it. I left pharma a couple of years later so I could do this full time. And then I started interviewing, world-class thought leaders like the Dan Pinks of the world and learning from them, how their research could apply to us in pharma. And so I left pharma 2 years after that and started teaching. And then, speaking from stages, and people would invite me to come in and help their teams. And then, Naji, I remember one day I was teaching a group of sales reps. And at first I was teaching the 5 steps of behavior change and how people move through. And I had this moment where I thought, oh my gosh, these people could use this information for manipulation or for not good. And then I consoled myself by saying, half these reps aren't going to get in to see the doctor anyway. And then I thought, okay, I've got to go back to the books, because there was something that I was trying to communicate and I couldn't figure it out. And right about then, there was this explosion in the literature on being purpose-driven, back when Simon Sinek started with why, that kind of stuff. And that was it. That was the missing piece of the puzzle. It was about being focused on the patient, being able to connect with why you're there and articulate it and communicate it and focus on that. And that was just game-changing. And it was so, I get goosebumps talking about it, because that's what I spend my time now, helping people love what they do and do better at it by being connected to the difference they can make in the world, by being connected to how they can eventually impact better patient outcomes, no matter who you are in the pharma organization and in the life science company. So that's, maybe that was more than you asked for, Naji. You just asked my backstory and I just kept going.
No, and it's great, because my question was about your purpose, but you just described it so beautifully, like what you do and what is your personal purpose within your everyday job. So let me double click on one of the aspects we discussed, and obviously you're passionate about this: purpose-driven people, right? Purpose-driven leadership, but everyone waking up and being here for the patients that we serve. Many times during the discussions we get into, and it's normal, right? Like you get into the day-to-day operations. you get so focused on delivering what you need to deliver that
exactly.
sometimes you forget this big image,
sure.
right? And
Yeah.
So I try to do it myself or my team, but I'd love to hear your thoughts while you're helping people and helping leaders. How can we keep this alive every single day to connect to this bigger purpose?
Yeah. And don't feel badly if you sometimes forget, because, studies show that 90% of people are not connected to their purpose. Or if they were at one time, they've lost that. And because it's effort. It takes work. I always say showering works, but you still need to do it every day, right? You can't just say, I'm going to take a workshop on purpose and I'm done, right? And that's why I say at the end of every one of our workshops, this isn't over, right? This is something that you work on. And that's why we always do, well, what do you need to start, stop, and continue to do to, one, keep your purpose top of mind, your patient focus, and secondly, to live it. So things like, the foundation, I say to people is, first, why are you here? And immediately people say, well, because I've got a family to feed, right? But you could feed your family anywhere. Why did you, and Naji, I know I've interviewed you and I know your story, but I say to people, why are you here in this life science company? Right. And at first, some people will say, well, it's just serendipity, or it was close to my house, or I like the remuneration package, but dig deeper. And so we go through a workshop and coaching and help people connect with that. And that is illuminating. That they will have a huge aha. It's sort of transformational. They see it differently. So that's number one. Foundationally, figure out why you're here. Go deeper than just it pays the bills. You can pay the bills anywhere, but for some reason you're working in healthcare. Why is that? Why is that meaningful to you? Then once you've found that story, figure out how to articulate it and share it. Because when you hear yourself say it out loud every day, in whether it's within your emails, it'll change your language that you use when you're thinking from a purpose-driven foundation. When you're thinking about how you serve others, how you help others, it changes what you say. So when we do the exercise, the start, stop, continue, it can be as small as a 1-minute meditation in the morning about why am I here? What is the goal? All the way to changing processes and procedures. Changing how we start meetings by starting with talking about the patient, changing about how we care for each other. Because it starts within our organizations, that caring and helping people, et cetera. So, bringing patients to the meetings, sharing patient stories. There's unlimited number and ideas. Putting reminders, pictures, following patient blogs so you can be more connected to those patients you're serving. It's unlimited. Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah.
The question?
Yeah, and on this, you talked about knowing your story, sharing it, right? Many times we hear sometimes our people saying, yeah, like this is corporate. How am I living it every day? My decision-making process is the same, right? Like we hear it across the healthcare industry. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on successful stories that you've seen or things you believe. I always believe in this alignment between what you say, what your heart has, right? And how your behaviors at the end of the day, are they all conveying in the same way? But I'm sure it's a journey that you take people on it. And I love how you frame it. It's not only taking executives, it's taking everyone in the industry somehow towards this journey. Yeah. So I'd love to hear your learning around this.
Yeah. So I want everyone to think right now about what their LinkedIn profile says about them. So not just the outline, but there's a section in your LinkedIn called summary. And what I have found is that 99% of those summaries are all the same. And they all sound like the same person. I have extensive experience in this. I am really into team building, independent thinking. I have my degrees, blah. But does that help anyone trust you, admire you, or believe you care for them and the patients you serve together? Not so much, right? So most people aren't in touch with it. And when they do get in touch with it and learn how to articulate it, it changes things. So they stand taller, they feel more proud, they're more collaborative, it increases trust, it opens doors internally and externally when people have that aha of why I'm here. It is, people say it's transformational. So we have gone from people thinking of themselves, and it's a body language thing. Picture somebody sort of slumped over just doing their work, right? And then when they get this sense of purpose and their connection to the difference they're making in the world, they're standing tall, they're on fire, they have energy. That's what I see. It goes from, sleepy to sensational type of thing as far as their mindset when they do connect with their purpose.
So let me challenge you on that, right? And you know where I stand. So I'm really playing the devil's advocate here.
Right.
Many would argue that this is the fluffy things. Like this is soft. Like I'm not going to spend time, hours with my team to work on this. Like it's waste of our time. Like we have so many other more important things to do. What would be your reaction on this?
Well, I'd like to hear, if everything's going great, then keep doing what you've always done, right? But if you're looking to create more collaboration, if you're looking to, I hear leaders say, my people don't feel valued, or they're not collaborating, or they're not getting time and access for field people or internal people. And by the way, we've done this with everyone from the receptionist at the front door all the way up to CEO office, right? So if you have any of those types of problems, throwing a new title at them, throwing a pay increase, all those things have not been proven to work. But what has been proven to work, and if we go to Daniel Pink's literature research, for example, the 3 keys to exceptional performance, do you remember what they are? Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So there's so much research out there that would say that it's not fluffy, but rather it is incredibly key. Martin Seligman said purpose is the key to flourish. Jim Stengel did a 10-year retrospective study of the S&P 500 and teased out the top 50 companies within them to find out what they did differently. And they were significantly better than the other 450. And guess what it came down to? One more time, purpose. Those companies that did best were the ones who had figured out their purpose, not just put it on their website, because all of us have put it on our website, but that's not enough, right? But those ones had figured out how to get that purpose into the hearts and hands and minds of their people, such that their people knew that they're going to work to make a difference in the world. And guess how many pharma companies were in that top 50, by the way, Najee? Of best companies focused on their purpose. How many do you think?
None.
None. That's
so we
right.
got some work to do for sure.
Yeah. There are other companies who have figured out, like, Coca-Cola. They're on a mission. You open a Coke and a smile.
You smile.
Right? Coca-Cola teaches the world to sing in perfect harmony. Right? They have figured out how to focus on their purpose and impart that, so the world knows that Coca-Cola equals happiness. Right? But what I want is for our companies to figure out how to bring that into our hearts and hands, so that the world knows that when you go to work for XYZ pharma company, you're going to work to save lives, to change lives. That's what we need.
Yeah, I can't agree more with you, Jill. When you were talking about purpose, you also linked it to, what I've been calling, and it's the title of this podcast, right? Like a loving culture or a caring culture.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get your thoughts about this, right? Because there is this power of purpose that lead people all towards something that is bigger than ourselves. And this is what we do. We wake up to make lives better for people around the globe.
That's
right. And linked to this is the culture that you create for you to be able to enable everyone at their best to get to this purpose. So what are your thoughts? What have you seen as really important leadership traits or leadership behavior creating those cultures in the different experiences that you had?
Yeah. Leadership to me, your podcast is Spread Love, and leadership to me is just that. Leadership is love. Leadership is caring. I think that people are engaged by those they trust, admire, and believe care for them. Like I already said, that is key. And that's what makes a great leader, someone that you trust, admire, and believe cares for you. So it's essential that leaders are able to communicate that to their people. That when they can articulate, communicate, and share their why, you see the whole audience change. Now I can trust her, admire her, and believe she cares for me, because she has just gotten on stage and said, hey, before I get started, I think it's important for me to share with you why I'm here and what my intentions are. Here's my story. This is why I'm here. And it's got to be beyond increasing shareholder value. That does not do it. Now that's a result.
Yeah.
But the result comes better and faster when we focus on our purpose, our why. It's an order of operations thing. When leaders focus on their why and their true caring for their people and the common purpose that you share together, they achieve results faster. When they focus on the results, it doesn't come as fast. It's like the watch pot never boils thing. Right?
Yeah.
Focus on, when leaders can focus on that purpose, focus on the caring, focusing on being that person others can trust, admire, and believe care for them and their common mission, that's when they'll be true leaders. That's when they'll inspire their people.
I want us to jump into a different section, Jill, where I will give you one word and I want to get your reaction to it.
Sure thing.
So first word might be obvious, but I would love to get your reaction. Purpose.
Purpose. For me, all I think of is that it's everything. It's the fuel. It's the energy. It's the trust. It's the love. It stems. It's what makes you wake up in the morning. And I feel so sad for people who are not connected to it when I know that they can be. So when I have someone, call me and say they have a group of 170 people, for example, I get so excited because I picture those families, because I know when people have purpose, they go home happier. I know they do better work, and I know ultimately they can help more patients. So to me, purpose, I guess if I had to use one word, I'd say foundational to success, but that's 3 words, but that's how important it is.
Great. Leadership.
Leadership, first word, love. And I know it's daring to use that word in a business sense, but maybe care is an easier word for some people to take. But leadership is about caring for others. Service is what leadership is, serving others. So
the last one, like you kind of combine both, but I always ask this last one: spread love in organizations.
Brilliance. The first thing I think of is absolutely, and not just in organizations, but in our communities everywhere. I'm so thrilled that you've taken this project on, and I feel like we're on the same wagon here, both of us doing the same effort, trying to, just like you said, spread love in organizations, spread love, spread care. Ultimately, when we bring that into organizations, it spreads to the patients we serve. Start with our people, and then that will result. I'm all about productivity, right? And I love the ripple effect of when we can spread love in our organizations. That means they're going to do better work, and that means we're going to serve more patients and spread more love and more health around the world. So yeah, very important work that you're doing.
And I've been reflecting, we discussed this last time, Jill, about those interactions that you have as a leader and how many times you just don't really value or even imagine the impact that you have on people. No, right? Like definitely. This single call or the single text that you send today to someone, and its impact on the person, their family, their community. Right? So if you just start with spreading like this small kindness, if you don't want to call it love, call it whatever you want, right? But this kindness instead of meanness with your people, like imagine how you're changing the world.
The ripple effect. Yeah. The ripple effect is tremendous. I always think about the, walking home, the families, how the children are affected at the end of the day. And for a leader, just if you don't know what to say or what's the right thing to say, focus back on that purpose, that why, that we're here together to help, to serve. And then that will help guide your words and your actions. And it will inevitably guide you to that feeling of wanting to spread love and care and service to others.
Love it. You mentioned a couple of books. What is the most inspiring book you recently read?
Oh my gosh, I'm looking around at the books all over my desk here.
I know, this is why I needed to ask you this question. You always gave me great books.
Well, the one I referred to was Grow, Jim Stengel, just an excellent book looking at purpose. And there's so many great books on purpose. There's the ones that I go back to again and again. Daniel Pink's books, I just love. Drive was one of the original ones. The one I referred to with Autonomy, Mastery, and Purpose was from Drive. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him a couple of times, and I just will read anything he writes. Just love him. I like reading Charles Duhigg, Power of Habits, Daniel Goleman. There's so many. I actually have quite a long list that I can send you if you want it, of some of my favorite books.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I read on the topic of leadership, purpose, behavior change, happiness, and I combine them all together. So those are my favorite topics.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, and I promise I will post the link and the books on SpreadLoveIO.com for our listeners.
Oh, great. Sure.
Any final word of wisdom, Jill, for the leaders in healthcare around the world?
Yeah, I guess just that it's worth it. It's worth it to take the time to dive deeper, to think about your why. And it has to go deeper than to serve my family. That's an outcome. That's not the result. Or sorry, that's the result. That's not the why. So yeah, take the time to think about why you're here and go deeper. There's always more. You're in the forest of life and it's dark and confusing, but try to take that helicopter view and you will find a golden thread that brought you to where you are. And when you connect with that purpose, that's when things will change for you.
I can definitely attest to it, Jill. And thank you for that connection that you helped me build.
Totally my pleasure, Nashi. I'll do anything for you. You're awesome. Thank you for the excellent work that you are doing.
Thank you all for listening to Spread Love in Organization podcast. Follow us on social media and connect with us on SpreadLoveIO.com. And most importantly, spread love in your organizations and spread the word around you to inspire others and amplify this movement our world so desperately needs.